first Aragami game adopted shadows as the main theme and expanded a lot on it. It was a very unique experience, and so I was so excited to see what the sequel had to offer, and it is a great game and all, but it kind of betrayed the series' identity. Aragami 2 still retained the game's original anime art style, but added a bit of realism to it, and I honestly didn't like that. The first game's style was so much better, but Aragami 2 strayed far from it. Now, the game doesn't look bad. Actually, it looks very good, and it has many eye-pleasing locations, but for some reason, I felt like some aspects, like the model skin for example, look a bit clayish. The gameplay has seen major changes, so let's cover them all. First, the stealth. The stealth diverted away so much from the first game's style. Aragami 1 was all about relying on shadows to stay hidden, staying away from light, and being patient and slow, but Aragami 2 dumped all of that right out of the window. The game is so much faster now, shadows aren't that important anymore, and light doesn't affect you. Now you rely on heights and covers to hide, not shadows, and for me, I hated this. This isn't what made me fall in love with the first game. Aragami 2 turned the series into a generic stealth game with traversal abilities, losing almost everything the first game built, because even the levels are designed to have heights as safe areas. It's true that the stealth lost its identity, but as a standalone system, it's not bad. You can now move bodies and hide them, and choose to kill or knock out enemies. The game also introduced combat. It's not too deep, but for a first try, they nailed it right. It can feel easy, but once you're surrounded by multiple enemies, you'll feel overwhelmed and forced to go back to stealth, which aligns kind of well with Aragami's anti-combat style. Since the first game didn't have any combat, you get caught, if you don't run away, you die. As mentioned before, level design has seen some changes since the game isn't linear anymore. You get those sandbox levels, and targets can be approached from multiple ways, not to mention the diverse collection in gadgets and abilities to allow creativity, along with additional abilities that come from the greatly enhanced skill tree. But the problem is that levels are used multiple times. The game has 51 missions, but only 11 maps, so you can already see the repetitiveness. Now, the game slowly tries to introduce new things like enemies like the necromancers, where they have this connectivity with enemies, so if you kill one of them, the other connected ones will be alerted. I mean, they're nice concepts, but still 51 missions, especially when the objectives are eavesdrops, assassinate, or kidnap someone. And the last thing I want to include is that the game is much more gory now, and also introduced a bit of destruction, which was nice. The story follows a new Aragami. He awakens with no memory and finds his way to Kakuriga village, a home to cursed Aragamis, who suffer from a disease called the Shadow Essence that grants power but slowly kills them. Through missions, Aragami uncovers that the Empire's use of shadow energy is tied to this disease, and to stop them, Aragamis at the village join forces to protect the village and save their kind. As mentioned before, you play as a different Aragami, not the one from the last game, and I felt like this one is more human than the first, with a village, allies, and a wider conflict against the Akatsuchi Empire. Aragami 2 is kind of a disappointment to me. It would have been fine if it was a new standalone IP, but unfortunately, the anime colorful style and the shadow-reliant gameplay we've seen in the first game isn't there anymore. And as for the story, I was excited to see what the first Aragami was up to and how he continued his life, but unfortunately, he wasn't mentioned at all, and for that, it deserves a 6.7 out of 10.